And I found out why on one of these podcasts. There's a short introduction to grindhouse movies on YouTube that anybody could look up if you just put in like B movie or grindhouse or whatever. And what they explain, it starts with the poster. Hey Kurt, welcome to another edition of the making of Turbo Pit Fighter, a science fiction comic that we are drawing live every week. And we also chit chat about comics and the world of creative science fiction, post apocalyptic novels, graphic novels, comics, movies, whatever. Actually, we don't have too many rigid rules here, but we are getting some stuff done. And I'm on page 12 of issue number 2, and you're penciling,
I'm inking page
inking.
20, and I think today I'll be able to say I'm 80% there and move on to page 21. So next episode we'll be staring at some 21, which is only then 8 pages away from
Yeah,
our first issue, getting closer and closer.
getting closer to the climactic ending of issue number 1. Yeah, and as we do it, we think about what's going to be happening next in the comic. We have a pretty sketched out, fleshed out plot that we do in this format here. Oops, that's something else. But we are going to be we are going to be just laying this book out issue by issue and become a graphic novel at some point. And we did finally just kind of rough out all the action that's going to be taking place for the second issue, so that we can just finish our pencils and work on page by page by page. And can't wait to publish the first issue, so we finally have something in our hand, some wares. And as we do, we really just kind of nerd out and drink in all the other kind of comics and movies and offerings that are happening, see what other artists are doing, and just kind of keeping our pulse on the scene. So it's been a 2-week layoff since we last got together.
Yeah, them holidays.
Yeah, and so we are just getting back into it. I'm finishing up this page here, but I'm just wondering, what my last little touches are here. I'm at the sequence where Trophy Girl is backing up the van and smushing one of the last 2 attackers, and then Turbo is going to dispatch the last guy on the next page, so we could turn our attention to giving them a little break, and they can start heading towards the little city outpost where Mr. Ike is, and they could get their they could kind of re-up and lick their wounds. Right here, Turbo has a little arrow she's getting shot with in the leg.
Oh, that's right. You did put it in the thigh. Nice move.
Yeah. So that's where I left off, and getting back into it. When we had our layoff, I was doing a lot of sketching. I have a sketch here. I probably won't be able to see all in one shot, but this is a completely different character, and I've been kind of doing some sketching to have some material laying in wait for the day that I finally do my first whatnot. And I'm going to
Oh
be
yeah.
inking live on screen, um, and trying to sell stuff. I'm not really looking to do that as a thing, but I just want to like check out the
Test the
technology.
waters.
Yeah, I just want to dip my toe and test the technology out. I also got these. I don't know if you're familiar, but I'm hopeful that these are nice to ink with.
Oh yeah, I have that. I have that. That is a
Yeah,
really good brushy pen.
yeah. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna check it out. Yeah, I'm wondering just how thick or how firm the tip stays over time, because I have some cheaper brush pens, and it's like real floppy flippy,
Yeah.
and that's not so hot. And yeah, I think I have some other one in my bag, but got some Christmas presents. You know, I did buy them for myself, but but
Hell yeah, man. That's how you get the right stuff. Trying
couple
to
of
explain to your wife or your mother what you want. Well, I don't under, and then you end up
right.
getting, you're like,
Send me a link.
that's close.
Send me a link. I'll get it off of Amazon. Okay,
Yeah.
great. Right, I'll just get it myself.
Thank
Thank
you, Grandma.
you. Right. I know Grandma's like a couple years behind. Oh
Yeah.
no, I don't eat spicy anymore. Sorry. Oh, I got you. Um. So
Yeah, I
yeah.
actually had a just a I will tease out verbally and not show because we're planning on doing some breakouts. But good old eBay came through again. I always do save searches on really exotic and rare items,
Right.
um, and I had two items that were not as rare but were exotic but way too expensive. um, uh, Ben Marra's OMWAT graphic novel,
Okay.
and then that Spain Rodriguez.
Yeah.
And both of those were running up and over $60. And I was thinking, you know what? January rolls around. If they drop under 60, no matter what, I'll grab them. I'll hold off my Christmas money there and pick them up. Well, one evening, both of them came up from the same seller
Uh-huh.
who did not know what he had and therefore posted them. He posted the Benjamin Marra Amwat at $15 and then the Spain Rodriguez Volume 1 from Fantagraphics for $20. But get this, he even had make an offer on it.
Oh
So
boy.
I went 13 for the Amwat and 15 on the thing, thinking if he came up in the middle, I was still getting a buck or so cheaper.
Yeah.
45 minutes later, he accepted the offer, paid the shipping, boom.
So what folks can take away with that from that
Oh, it's
is
so
that
beautiful.
yeah, it's good to what do you have to do, like or follow or
No,
watch?
it's called a save search. So when you do your search, um, at the top, and I did this is on a desktop. You'll see right underneath it in blue, it says Save Search and a blue outline heart. Click that, and anytime somebody posts something based on that search, you'll get an email notification.
Yeah, so it's
So
like
I
a
had
want,
both of those in.
it's kind of like a workaround to a want list or something, right?
Yeah, yeah, and you can even go into the settings and say you wouldn't want to pay any more than like $30 for it, so you would never see
Right. Don't bother me.
unless you manually went for it,
Yeah.
you know.
So that's nice. I guess I have some show and tell I can do also because on the day after Christmas there was a local record fair here in
Ooh.
Westchester at the Marriott, and you know I'm a vinyl guy. I'm a vinyl junkie, so I went and you know, I maybe spent about $150 getting some cool records, but there was a guy set up there with a table, and he had all of this kind of like memorabilia and ephemera, paraphernalia, whatever you want to call it. You know, he had posters and kind of like headshots, 8x10s, and like laminates, backstage passes, all that kind of stuff. And he had a half a box of comics there, so I'm gonna show you my haul, so you can lick your chops. I made I made the guy some tough offers too, and he took me up. So here we
Is this the
go.
same guy? Did he buy the comics off the guy that was up in where were you before when you bought all those
Yeah, no, this is a different, totally different guy. This is a music guy at a music fair, and he had some good stuff. He was asking $20 a piece for the Zaps, and but luckily enough, my buddy that was there with him, that was there with me, bought hundreds of dollars, like $300 worth of stuff off him because he
Oh,
had
so
some
he was.
autograph stuff. Yeah, we bought some autographs. He had like Mellencamp and the Small Faces, and they were all good autographs. And my buddy's in the business, so he was able to, buy stuff, pretty cheap off this guy, and he's going to turn around. And my friend is already, set to make profits of over $1,000 from that $300 that he spent. Because he's an actual autograph dealer. But me, yeah, I'm just collecting these stuff. So we have Zap #5 from Apex. With the great Robert Williams cover. I love the chrome effect. I've been studying the
Yeah.
chrome effect,
So have
trying
I.
to get better and better. This was Crumb and Mrs. Crumb together. Dirty
Who
Laundry.
just passed away.
Who did?
Eileen Crumb passed away at the beginning of December.
Oh wow, Aline, yeah,
Yeah.
Aline
Fan sir.
Kominsky Crumb.
Yes.
Didn't know. Yeah,
Yeah. Very
yeah. The
sad.
great cartoons you can see here. Crumb did his drawing and she did her drawing, and she was every bit as good as him, except he was a lot more prolific. Here we got Zap #6. This is a Gilbert Shelton cover. I passed on the Gilbert Shelton again. I'm not a big Freak Brothers guy. Here is another Robert Williams cover with look at the chrome. This is called Tough Stuff. I guess I can say tough shit. It's all right. But this was I have no idea what's inside. I might have seen this at some point in time inside, but that this one I got. This is an indie that's kind of like one of those Power Comics type things, and he happened to
Oh,
have.
wait a second. I've seen. Can you move that to the left? Yeah, you have another one of
I
those,
have
don't
another
you?
one of these.
Earth.
Yeah,
What's it
yeah.
again? Pull it down. What is it? Earth
Earth
what?
lore.
Earth lore. I'm
Yeah.
getting interested in that. If you don't end up liking that, then we can do a
No,
trade.
it's good. It looks a
Yeah.
lot like it's Frank Brunner inspired.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
if I had to say somebody, but again, those are just covers.
Okay.
As I remember, the insides were pretty interesting. So maybe we'll get back into that some point. These. So yeah, and let me see if there was any other zaps. So I got those zaps. He wanted $20 a piece, and
Hmm.
because I was getting, let me see, one, two, basically four. Well, these comics were all $20 a piece. I made him an offer, and I said, "Let's go 10 a piece. If I take them all, would you do it?" And he was thought about, okay. And so these other ones I just kind of threw in there. So I think I might have given him $50 for everything. So these
Oh, that's
comics
great.
here I'm only paying like $2 for. But
Hmm.
I got the Get Smart,
Wow.
and I got the Xena. I had to grab the Xena,
Hell yeah.
right, because she is a big buxom warrior. And I don't know about the insides. We'll take a look. These are the Tops comics that came out. I think they had a little burst of publishing at some point, and then they stopped. But the artwork looks pretty good here. Looks pretty true. And nice colors. It's that Photoshop thing, but not so like garish, right? I always love, if you can see here, I always love the two-tone shading, right? Where you have a
The
colored
Wally
light.
Wood effect.
Well, it's colored lighting, on one side, as if there's like a colored light source on one side and the colored light source on the other. I always love that. And then,
Uh-huh.
there's like a little dark shading in between that can very easily separate it. Or you can do it the other way where they blend. Anyway, not to get too off track. Look at this, an old Harvey Kurtzman Mad.
Nice.
And I didn't pay very much for this. So I don't know what it's worth. This is when EC Comics was publishing Mad magazine as a comic book. This is Mad #7, and I didn't pay squat for it. So, here is the Elementals, which was I think Pacific, Comico, and this was like a superhero thing, but they also had like a mature version, and I don't know what I got here, but it's pretty well drawn. So this is just indie comics. Don't even think about it. Just grab it if it's super cheap.
Little dot.
Little Dot, yeah. So
Little dot.
these I get for my students. and
Sure.
I leave them lying around. I know they might be worth $5, but who cares? Whatever. I only pay $1 or two, so I know they'll get chewed up and destroyed. This was Batman Black and White. This is a compilation. I think there's like an anthology inside, and this is Alex Toth on the cover. So didn't go too much on that, and finally Peter Bag's Heat from Fantagraphics. I'm not usually a fan. I know he's got a good body of work, and he's, I guess, funny or something. I mean, my most memorable recollection of him is when he used to do cartoons of the Ramones. But I know he's got Peter Bag's Heat and all that. So that was my haul, and we'll have hours of fun digging through all that stuff and reading it all, and then doing something with it as I manage the collection, the growth of the collection. I might need a new comic box at some point, and you know, and that's the other thing about Whatnot. That app is you can get rid of stuff, just sell it, but you also have to be willing to, sit there and ship it all out in cardboard boxes and bring it to the post office and all that. So that's really the hateful part of selling stuff for me on eBay. I'd much rather just do my regular job if I'm just trying to make money. So yeah, not too much else going on as far as conventions. I think there's a big Saratoga convention coming up in a couple of weeks, and I was thinking about getting a table. I was also thinking about getting a table at a Bronx Con that they had, which was a cosplay themed event,
Ugh.
but I didn't do it at the last minute because I was really sick. So just trying to get better, man. Just trying to get better.
Yeah, you
So
feeling all right now? Are you feeling
I,
good now?
I'm a little bit low energy
Yeah.
last couple of days and weeks because I got the vaccination booster recently,
Okay.
and it never really did anything to me,
Mm,
but this time it really made me kind of like sluggish.
yeah.
I gotta say that I
Yeah.
switched to the Moderna. My doctor said switch to the Moderna, and I had been taking Pfizer and never had any kind of issues at all whatsoever. Just maybe like a little bit of like numbness around my arm. But yeah, nobody cares about me and my how I feel. It's just I've been drawing. I mean, what I really been doing, I got to be honest, like that I'm super like keyed up about is I've been doing a lot of writing, which is not like sitting down and typing out scripts, but I've been
Yeah.
doing like kind of big contour writing, like synopses and like generalized plot lines. So if we have time for, I know you have to go early today, but if we have time for a little after party, we can go over that, and we go over the particularly the one comic that's in the works, that we spoke about, the Russ Meyer influence.
Yes.
Yeah, I was checking online, and doesn't look like anybody has done too much in the way of Russ Meyer influenced comics.
It would be interesting to see if we can make contact with whoever has control or is in step with the estate and any of the kind of outlines of how to deal with his material.
I would,
I've been thinking a little bit, just to interject, and I had done some research on it as well, and was just super curious about kind of doing it more more about him.
yeah, like actually him rather than just like his
Yeah,
influences and his
yeah, and kind of
motif,
like
his
what do you call
elemental
that? Yeah, instead of like creating a mock-up of
homage.
him, yeah,
Yeah.
homage kind of thing and stuff. Because yeah, he just so fascinating. It seems kind of sad to not be able to just keep digging and digging and digging and then just almost in a sense do a biography on him, but then have your trippy element uh, uh, with the girl fighting force.
Yeah,
I think that'd be super cool.
I'm very, very psyched about the way the Girl Fighting Force comic is coming out. And I can't wait to share it with you. What now I don't know if you did what I did, but I did some deep dives. If you go to Apple Podcasts and you just type in Russ Meyer,
Yeah,
there are some amazing kind of like film nerd podcasts where they're
yeah,
talking, where they have episodes about
yeah.
him. Sometimes they do like a particular movie and sometimes they do his whole bio. But there is a 3 hour marathon on there. I forget what it's called, but they got this this one guy, he does his regular film review thing, whatever they call it. It's like they do the cult
Essay,
classic. Yeah, no, it's the cult
not an
classics, and
essay.
they and then he enlisted this Russ Meyer expert
Whoa,
from the Midwest, and what they did was they did a step by step run through of his entire filmography, and they talk about every single, like, first they do like a half an hour, and then on Russ, and then his backstory, and then they launch into this marathon going in order chronology of his first film, The Immoral Mr. T's,
yeah,
1958,
yeah. I just watched that
groundbreaking.
again.
And then they go into one by one, which one did good box office, which one how much money they made, how much it was spent on making it, which the actresses were up and comers, and how he found them in like nightclubs and stuff. So
A lot of burlesque, like Go Go.
yeah, well, Turo Santana and Haji were both strippers at a go-go
Go
bar
Go.
in
They were
Los
Go
Angeles.
Go. They weren't
Yeah, they
strippers.
were
They were Go Go.
go-go dancers at a bar in well, okay,
But
fine.
the cool thing about Go Go until like about early 60s, like about 64, it was a couples dinner evening type of event.
Sure.
I mean, that was like couples, husbands and wives would go have
Right.
dinner, nice steak dinner, salad, potatoes, green beans, and then there would be a couple of gals that would come out and
Right. And do the burlesque thing, right.
yeah,
Yeah,
freaking
I mean
awesome.
that it's still going
Bring
on
it
today.
back.
I just heard about I was at an art show on a Friday night. I
Mm.
submitted a painting, one of my face paintings, and it was like a bunch of art teachers, and there was this great little gallery space in Harlem, PS 109. They have this amazing cultural center called El Barrio Art Space, and
Oh wow.
they have like this big exhibition room upstairs and a smaller one downstairs, and this, so there was all this stuff going on. They had wine and cheese, and I had my painting there, and they were telling, and somebody was telling me that after the show they were going down to Bushwick, Brooklyn, where they have this kind of freaky club where people are supposed to just dress up in this like anything goes atmosphere. It was called like the Yes House, the House of Yes, and it's still going on now, right? And and then after like I think 11 p.m. they roll out all these like drag queen stuff, and they bring out lights and they bring out like outfits, and this is all happening now. It's just a little bit more, maybe, you know, a little bit more, I guess, progressive than back in the day. But the nightlife scene was, you could see some live music. You could see some dancing girls, and you could get up and dance yourself in these
Yep.
places.
Yeah.
And then if they had like one of these kind of like striptease things going on, that was one direction, that they could go in. It all depends, like, what the clientele was like. If it was couples, they probably wanted to do the other thing. It was older, mostly males. They probably wanted to go the burlesque thing. So, um, anyway, Russ Meyer. had a very storied career. He is revered as, perhaps the most iconic cult classic B movie film guy.
Sexploitation.
Right. Well, he moved through the the what they call the nudie cuties,
Hmm.
where he's credited with inventing the genre. And then of course it goes downhill very rapidly. But then there was the roughies, which are movies with a little bit of violence content in it, or right, like really, kind of, yeah. So you could say violence or mistreatment of people, as part of the storyline. And that gets people's antenna up too, right? That, because he's just trying to drive people to the movie houses here, and they have those great billboards, right? That just like, I mean, I think the hallmark of exploitation movies is that the billboard is 10 times more like intense than the actual movie.
Yeah.
And I found out why on one of these podcasts. There's a short introduction to grindhouse movies on YouTube that anybody could look up if you just put in like B movie or grindhouse or whatever. And what they explain, it starts with the poster, right? They have a name, and they make a poster, and the posters were hanging up sometimes for weeks and months before they even start production of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah.
They just kind of float it, and they see people's interest, and then people say, "Hey, when's this coming out?" And they just kind of gauge interest, and then the actual production of the movie was not only done fast, but it was an afterthought, right? The,
Right.
the only thing that matters was selling tickets, and they didn't care. And so that's why you have some of literally the worst movies ever made, and but yet these enticing posters. And so, really, some people say, oh, the female actresses are the ones being exploited. No, it's the ticket buyer. I mean, yes, but also it's the ticket buyer, that's being exploited, right? It's like, it's all hype, and they can never deliver, right? But that's like half of the fun. It's like, going to see how cheesy it is after you've been lured in by these posters that say, savagely, like you've never seen before. And the other thing were the recorded spots. And my buddy Rick has a collection of them, and I'm dying to get my hands on them. And they were like, they're on 45s, but there's like maybe like three tracks on each side, and they're like these 1 minute or 30-second radio spots that are hyping up these movies. And they're in the vein of Russ Meyer, but much more low budget. Like what was the one it was like Harlot Shack, or like, like White Trash, like,
Yeah.
the young women who are, seeking the life of fame and fortune, but fall quickly into the desperation, and then they put the echo chamber on. You will be amazed and shocked, and then they have all of these like, gimmicks like, nobody under the age of 18 is permitted, and
Oh yeah, man.
this is banned in 4 cities, like all that kind of stuff. So, so Russ Meyer was, the nudie cutie genre, the roughie genre, and then the exploitation genre. And the funny thing was that about pornography is that he actually avoided it
Yep.
most of the time. He did have some nudity, and he did get some X ratings on some of his pictures, including Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. But when it came to actual pornography, he steered clear, where the suggestion was there on the posters and in the movies itself, but he didn't actually deliver, because that's when, that's how these filmmakers would get into trouble. And the film, if a film gets banned,
Well, they go to jail.
you can go to
They
jail
would
in
go to
some
jail.
places. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so
States. Yeah.
so yeah, he really did. He really let like people's
He
imagination
was
do the
very
work.
smart. He was very smart and very
And
intelligent. He was
yeah,
very calculative. He was a very much of a business person. He was square. in all of it. And it's just, I hate when people categorize him as something that he definitely not only wasn't, but was against. And he was really, when you watch interviews with him, I just think he's just always, it's just good fun. That's all it
It's
is.
good fun, but it's really like, like I was trying to explain this to Rick, my friend, and it's like art house, right? It's like
Yes.
very, very strange, very offbeat, off kilter movies, but they all have a great visual, aspect to it, and then each one of them has some kind of a vision to it where they're really interesting. I mean, there was a couple of bombs in there, and there was a couple that are lesser than than his big hits, but I'm really excited to just like go through them all and see them. And the one I have queued up now, I did find it online, the whole thing for free, and I have it all queued up, is Super Vixens.
Yeah.
I'm gonna be watching that next, but so far I just saw Faster Pussycat Kill Kill, which was probably his second most popular flick after Beyond the Valley of the Dolls. and
Okay.
um and then I want to see Lorna, which was really controversial because it had a lot of racial stuff going on in like the early '60s, and so that he really drummed up a lot of controversy. He hit a lot of hot buttons because that's the point in the exploitation genre. But then if it's a roughie and there's some other stuff going on, that's showing like violence or abuse or all that, then you get these kind of like these really kind of like disturbing scenes in there. That gets another kind of a buzz going, and people have to put it all in perspective. But overall, um I wouldn't even say like he's my favorite filmmaker. I would just say that I love the aesthetic of his movies, and that I am planning a graphic novel that I hope I can find an artist for, and I'm actually talking to my buddy Rick about investing in it so that I can get a decent artist on it. And
Oh, wow.
yeah, and we're gonna talk about that because I told him, I said, what would be more fun than sitting around a table and plotting these comics out and then handing them off to an artist who draws them, and then you get back the pages, you publish it, and then whether you make money or not, it's just like what would be more fun than sitting around a table like plotting out exploitation comics based on exploitation movies. And I have some really good ideas that I can't wait to bounce off you uh,
Cool.
for this series. But I'm code naming it for the time being. Um, what am I code naming it? Uh, B movie Scream Queen? No, it's called. Oh God. Well, I
You got
forget.
it written somewhere, right?
I just did it last night, so be patient with me. But I'm going to my new website at hellclaw.com. Let me see what I called it, because I put up a whole index of all the different ideas: the sci-fi, the pulp, the exploitation, and the other stuff. So it's going to be called code named B movie She Devils.
Love it.
B movie She Devils, and it will take you through a progression that I would say it definitely is an homage to Russ Meyer, but it's not. But it's also taking off on its own in a lot of ways, because me, and I go into a lot of real freaky places too, as a fan of William Burroughs, as a fan of like gritty true crime stuff, and then crime pulp fiction stuff, and sci-fi, and low budget B movies, and camp and kitsch and all that stuff. So that is another project in the works. And if anybody would like more information or to get involved, and you want to be an investor, you have a couple of grand lying around, hiring a decent artist is in the thousands, per comic. Yeah, I would say somewhere between what, like maybe 3-4 grand to get
Yeah.
good pencils and inks
Yeah. The
at a
whole,
professional,
yeah, the whole treatment.
yeah,
Yeah.
professional level. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely in the works. That's definitely on the bucket list, and a couple other ones too. But let's save those for another time. Some of them you know
Oh,
about, and
yeah.
some of them I've just started to tell you about. So I love just like explaining them to you and getting your more definite sounding board. So
Well, we definitely share the same interests and also the sensibility, the sense of why it's so interesting, you know, and then trying to homage to it, but then, get your own um, version of it.
yeah, trying to make something new and original for the
Yeah,
marketplace today, but
yeah.
that's also fun to make because at the end of the day, I have a day job. I'm not worried about paying my rent. I want to create something that lasts the test of time, and that time might even be after I'm gone. I understand that. That's how that works. Especially like when it comes to these rediscovered movies, rediscovered bands, rediscovered comics, right? They're, that power comics stuff that you turn me on to, they're rediscovering these comics. These guys are lost and gone. They're long gone as far as being, in the scene. But
No, not some of them. Ethan and them have been able to drag out of the woodwork and do interviews with. So
right, but are they
uh,
working in comics?
no,
No, they're
no,
not. So
they
yeah,
they they gave they gave that Hail Mary.
yeah.
And then they probably shipped a copy or two to Marvel and DC and never heard from them. And then, you know, married a girl and had some kids and
Right. Well, whatever.
went off and did real world stuff.
Right, whatever
And are
they're doing.
probably just as happy.
And that also reminds me of something else I wanted to show you. I found some of my early. Where are they? I found some of my early attempts at comics, and I noticed that in one of the episodes they were asking about comics made by like 15-year-olds.
Yeah.
I think they love that kind of stuff. Here's some.
Oh yeah.
I found some
Oh
stuff that
shit.
I had back
Oh
done back
my
in the day. These are all
God.
different comics
Oh
that I made.
Jake. Jake, we got to publish that, man.
Oh yeah.
That's.
Well, these were just
Oh
like,
man.
I did that thing constantly where you just like do like a couple of pages and then you just abandon it.
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
uh and then this is more recent, but you know, there
Ugh.
there look at this stuff with the gray washes.
Damn.
I was wondering about this for the B movie thing. It's a gray wash style, because I did this all with the dip pen
Yeah.
and the steel pen, and then I went
Yeah.
back over it with just like with some darker and lighter gray washes, and I really like this. This isn't even good paper, but I did a couple of pages on this where these like cat creature guys, and then you run out of steam. But this is what I was doing in my teens and 20s, and I found the first comic I ever made, Nightmares of Utter Dread. I actually have a copy of it. It was a Xeroxed comic,
Oh
so I
man.
guess you call it like a zine or something. And
Yeah.
I would, oh, look at this one. This was all in college, and I was definitely thinking about Kirby and like these little black spots to balance everything out. This was Sinew Man, marked for destruction by the evil doer. Sinew Man is just like this guy that I drew like so wiry and weird. I don't know. I can't even explain. But I did this short little Xerox comic that I have, and I'm pretty sure I was like 16 or so when I did it. This is the first thing I ever finished. Here it is. Remember the colors of Xerox covers that you get? It was like solar
Yeah.
yellow, astral
Yeah.
green, That hasn't changed for 30 years. But this is the first comic I ever did in this that I ever actually finished, and
Damn.
the originals are all like tattered and rotten, but this is now probably the only existing copy. I gave this out to friends, and I was a young buck here trying to do the thing, and so maybe I'll submit this to Power.
So there's a prediction that I am making based on cartoons, kayfabe, and AI, and I believe, and this will be a strong suggestion, maybe argument from my side to you, and it comes time to do, Turbo Pit Fighter justice, but I believe this is the 15th coming of comic books is going to be hand printed. Zine and um, just literally that hand
Oh,
printed
you mean people?
because
You mean people have a printer in their house and they just crank
yeah,
stuff up? But that's
yeah.
very costly, though.
But if you look at the way, see, the thing that comic books has to escape from is the inauthenticity of mass produced, or let's say mass printed shit.
Right?
There's just so much shit out there.
Yeah.
Now, have you been watching the cartoonist kayfabes and the review of was it Ed having gone to Japan, and there's the Tokyo Comic Con or some like Tenshuke Con thing where 700,000 people twice a year go to purchase Doshin, which I think I'm pronouncing right, but which are the only thing they sell are hand printed zines of already established majority wise
Yeah, but those are
properties out there.
collectibles. That sounds like.
But that's the whole point. That is the whole point of it, because comic books have held themselves higher in a standard of speculation market than art market.
Okay.
And I mean, the second thing would be the art market. In other words, your handmade pages. But those don't ever move until you're the one that did that Batman comic.
Yeah, well, there
You
is
know,
there is a move towards exclusivity and limited editions that we didn't always see. In the past, going back to the original, the first comics were like the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. It was all about getting something that people want to buy and then selling as many copies as you can and getting it into
right,
print and published and
right.
distributed. And now that there's, I guess, I
It's
mean,
just not happening
well, yeah, the difference
for
is,
people.
well,
Even the big publishers can't keep their numbers going anywhere other than down.
yeah, I mean, because in America, the real problem is there's comics just aren't as popular as they were back then. Back then, every kid on every corner was buying comics and picking them up because there was no digital stuff, there was no TV, there was no internet, no gaming, no iPads, instant gratification. Life was a lot slower, and if you had a comic in your hand, you could curl up in a corner and escape. But now,
Yep.
if you want to curl up and escape, you put on your Oculus, virtual reality headset and get your,
Yeah.
imaginary lightsaber and start swinging, and you go to like 17 different planets in 2 minutes. So, what are comics doing to adapt? And the answer is, well, it's a specialty market now, right? And
What do you
it's,
mean specialty market?
well, people that buy and collect comics now are a lot more of a niche than they were. It was, there was a lot more household penetration back in the post-war era, let's say. And and so now you're looking for comic buyers and comic collectors rather than just any kid off the street. and all of the superhero ideas have been done. All of the science fiction things, we've seen it all a million times. We're just rehashing and rehashing.
Yes.
So 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 what's different now? Well, now you could get a cool artist that has a dedicated following, and that's more of a specialty market. That's more of a niche thing, right? If they cultivate an audience and they get people to repeat customers, and they create a name for themselves, right? And so I can see, where the hand printed thing comes in. It's the rarity of it. Those things might, really, trigger a secondary market and might really take off. And it might be good not just for the creator, but the owner
Yeah.
of each one to have and to appreciate and value, just like, action number one or Superman number
Yes.
one, right? So,
Yes.
and that's why I contacted you a year or two ago, right? A year ago or so, right? Because
Yeah.
I was thinking, wow, this NFT idea is really taking off on the idea of limited editions, specialty, ownership privileges. It had and does still have a lot of interesting angles to the concept of a creator making art, and then the public buying it, and a marketplace. And I think a lot of those things are still valid. It's just not with crypto anymore. The
Right.
excitement about crypto and the faith in crypto as a thing has just, since we've been talking, had just fallen through the floor. And I said that might happen. We definitely discussed that
I knew it
we
was
were
going to happen.
very, very trepidatious about where it's going.
Yeah.
But I think the thing to walk away from is, if you're making a comic and you're intending to print it, you may as well make a digital version of it. It's no skin off your back. Try to sell it in that format too, and and do it in a way where it's got some value. So it could be a digital download, and you tell people this is copyrighted, and please don't you know break whatever the format is, and the security is, and go post it on some public forum. um
Good luck with that.
well, same thing goes for any comic you buy, off the
Any anything you
yeah,
buy.
anything you buy, music, movies, right? The bother of somebody digitizing it and posting it, right? And that's what YouTube is. It's all movies, that people digitize and post it, and and there's a whole universe of copyright infringement versus nobody cares versus they completely monetized and legitimized it, so
Well, they've been able to get away with what they were been referring to it as archiving.
yeah.
So,
I mean, last night I watched an episode of Mystery Science Theater, and right next to the episode that I watched was an episode that you can buy for $2.99. And what's the difference? Well, the episode I was watching is grainy, and it was from like the
yeah.
1990s. But there they are side by side, and do the creators care at this point? No, they're like, nah, it helps our brand. We know that people love it, and if they want to plumb the depths, they can get plenty of free episodes. But if they want to see this new one that we just released, it's $2.99, and I bet you these guys aren't hurting. So it's the classic Metallica dilemma. Remember Metallica? They were like so firmly opposed to Napster and people downloading MP3s that they brought a lawsuit. And then,
I still can't get the old, remember the guy that we learned Flash from who did those cartoons, those Flash cartoons of Lars and,
oh,
what's
Yeah,
his,
Bob Seska. Well, Bob Seska's
he
a
was
big
so
name.
awesome. He's
He's a
so
big
awesome.
political broadcaster now. He's like a
Yeah,
radio guy.
yeah,
But
that
yeah,
was a great
he
thing.
did. Yeah, if people don't know about Bob Seska, he was one of the first guys doing Flash animation, and he got a contract with Metallica. And he was doing something for Viacom/MTV, and it was getting on the air. And it just wasn't the greatest art style. It was kind of like cartoony, really like South Parky kind of quality
Yeah, but
on the
still,
art.
either he was writing it or somebody was writing that shit, and it was funny. It still sticks in my mind when I see them.
But yeah,
Yeah,
but Metallica was, they were the biggest plaintiffs to take everything down offline Napster, no
yeah,
free file sharing, and there was a lot of bands that really benefited because they got their music out. But Metallica was at the point where they were, monetizing and commercializing everything they did, and they wanted, their hard-earned work, to go, back to them, not to be given away for free. So they wanted the platform taken down. And it was so ironic, maybe like 20 years later, that happened in the 90s. So maybe 20 years later, like in the 2010s, Metallica put out a new album, and the whole landscape had changed as far as music distribution. So what did they do? They put it online for free, for people to download it, but
yep.
only for like a 1 week window or a 1 month window or something. And they used the tool in the way that they wanted to use it, right? But as far as having like a file sharing platform where users can just post stuff, they wanted that taken down. So we're that this is where we are. And same thing goes with comics, with anything else. A creator might find their entire comic posted page by page online to their dismay, and might find that it's in the hands of everybody and no one's going to buy their stuff anymore. That's unfortunate, and they might have to try.
That's a bit
Yeah, I mean, you don't
extreme.
see it. You don't
I
see it
think
too
the
much.
thing is, yeah, but this is my point. Going back to is the dumping of content. Okay, so there's two spheres that are starting to really make definition. The first one has always been there since the advent of the phone: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. They're content proving. Whatever you post on that, you are contributing to that platform for them to exist by then having content on it,
Right.
which then people have, and I have been a part of it and will maintain a part of it. Um, the advertising and promotional ability of that to then migrate what would be a fan, and then a true fan or super fan, to then come over to your website and purchase something more centric to let's say an object, not a download. Um, and it's something that I'm starting to get very close to in my feeling for where I'm going as an artist, because I think the two things you and I have going forward is our history, which we're proving just with our podcast is valuable. We're not inventing any of this in the way of like friendship and admiration for the things that we're both admiring and wanting to contribute to. But more importantly, is our ability to actually draw the physical making drawings,
Mhm.
pages. Then it becomes, and this goes back to the idea of printing and zines and handmade comics and
No, I think
books.
you have a real good point. That things that there's going to be a direction, where people do print on demand straight from the creator. There's going to be home printers that are good enough, so that
Well, I wanna really, 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 really look into it, because they're the Jim and Ed at Cartoon, kayfabe. They're not saying it specifically, but if you watch them and listen to them long enough, and you start drawing lines, they're I think one of their ultimate goals, which they have stated last year, is if they reached 100,000 people following them through YouTube, they would set up in Pittsburgh a artist centric Comic-Con. And I think the two of them find financial value for themselves
yeah.
because they now have a brand for being recognized as the people who, they've really brought in a whole nother layer of enjoying comics, getting to know comics, and finding guys, just like Ethan and the guys for Power Comics. Um, but their authenticity is something that they're going to have to maintain in order to really make that hardcore, let's say, business from being an artist to a promoter, let's say, for that. And I think they're learning a lot, but they're also promoting a lot of this. And for what I've just listened to in like the last couple of weeks, it's got me once again very like really like I could see a little bit more clearer why you would want to make a comic or pinups or a poster, but print them yourself and distribute them, give them away to other comic book YouTube promoters. Because Cartoons Kayfabe, they want zines, and they said if they like that zine and it's interesting and it's saying something, they will promote it. They will do a 15-minute review or however
Right.
long it takes them to put that through.
Yeah.
That is very amazing in their own way of going about it. But I really think they're just moving with the obvious, because with AI, we're gonna end up in a blizzard of just digital, uh, uh, artificially made comic book format material to print on demand or just look through digitally.
Yeah.
And it's going to be a long time trying to sort through. But what people are really, the real people are going to sort through, who have money to spend and want to contribute to the growth of something, will look for things printed, hand printed, and they will spend the money to be there as early adopters.
Right. Yeah. So, there's I think there's got to be a home printer setup that is suited for this.
Yeah,
That
what
understand.
I have, I think, is just good enough. I mean, it's not, it's quality is one thing, but the reality of who you are and where you're at and what you're trying to make is another thing. I don't think selling 1,000 copies is really the advantage point. Making $25 handmade comics and selling 100 of them is way more realistic, I think, going down the future
Yeah,
than
I think that's the
trying to produce on your own 1,000 comics and sell them for
no, that's the
$5 with
break point.
shipping. Yep.
The break point where it's much more advantageous to go litho is probably around 300, I would say. It depends. If you're doing it a little bit at a time and you're printing 100 this year and 100 next year, maybe that's manageable. But then you're going to say, "Wow, I should have just printed 300. I just should have went litho," because at that point the cost per unit goes way down, and you have to think about it, as an investment for the whole rest of your life. If you make a comic, and it's decent and somebody wants to read it, it's not going anywhere. You can print those things off
Exactly.
as much as you want.
Exactly.
And they also have the print on demand from the big commercial printers too, so that you
Yeah.
can just say, "Give me 50 more." They have the digital file. All they got to do is hit a button.
Yeah.
But my questions at that point is it archival quality paper? Is the ink going to hold up? Is it going to turn yellow in 5 years, or is it going to turn yellow in 10 years?
Let other people deal with that. That's what I say.
Yeah, I mean, but
Most of the greatest art in the world right now is falling off the canvases. I mean, Jackson Pollock's shit's falling off the canvas faster than they can hire people and train them to restore it, because
yeah,
he was using shit that nobody should have been using, which was enamel house paint.
yeah, he was and not only
And
that,
then he was diluting it with all types of things that they're probably still trying to figure out
he was
what
a
he was
drunk.
diluting it with.
He was a drunk,
Yeah, it was probably bourbon and cheap beer.
right? But
But
yeah,
anyhow, we're over our 45-minute mark, and we want to definitely keep these bite size. And we did take a 2-week hiatus, so we are very amped up. I just want to segue to, we have completed the first 20 issues with episodes for Commandy Last Boy on Earth. So you can
yes,
check them out.
I
It's
love the
it's on a playlist. I'm editing them into little minute sound bites so you can see our shorts. Follow our channel, obviously, to be able to see these shorts come up in your feed. But they are great. They are really insightful for Jake and I, and they are echoing throughout our channel. We're
Yeah.
going to move into another what we call breakout video session, which will be reviewing um, material closer to what we're working on: black and white, independent, power comics, post-apocalyptic theme, underground, just from Jake and I's personal collections.
Yes. And if you're listening to
So with
this,
that being said,
if you're listening to this, we do reserve the right to go on tangents at any time, and you never know what you're going to see and what you're going to be interested in. Kurt's a good taskmaster, keeping us, more focused on the niche or the genre that we fit neatly into. That said, when you're creating, you get influenced by everything and anything, and
yeah.
it's always good to take a look at stuff. So thanks, Kurt.
So with that being said, yeah, man, we're gonna break out right after this to just talk a little bit more about the breakout videos and catch up with and we'll see you all next week. Every Sunday at 11 o'clock is when these episodes drop. So thanks again for staying this far out and being a turbo knot. But that's all I have, Jake. Anything else? Last words?
No, peace be with you, my friends.
All right. Later.